Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second Sahara Desert Challenge for Shelter webinar. We're really happy to have you here. We're going to talk about everything you need to know about getting your gear and basics around packing. And I know that this has been a hot topic. We were joking about, this is like The View, hot topics. We're going to talk about gear and packing. Just a little reminder that the chat is not enabled for the webinar. So if you have any questions during the webinar, just jot them down. And if we don't get to the answer to your question, you can email Carly for more information. And she'll answer you after the webinar, and she'll post to our Facebook group if your question is relevant to other people. And also just a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar will last about 45 minutes, but you can watch it at any time at your convenience. I think you can even pause and rewind. So don't sweat if you miss something, if you want to pause and read what's on the slide, or if you want to rewind, or you want to just, again, stop it and come back to it later, you're welcome to do that. So what are we going to be covering today? Okay, and of course, now my slide's not working. So let's just try that. Okay, sorry, little technical difficulties. So this is what we're going to be covering today. We are going to be covering some challenge updates. We're going to talk about the official equipment list from Charity Challenge that you need to refer to, some general packing tips, and some suggestions for gear and other things to bring with you. And please make note of a few items in the webinar, in the slides, that are flagged with this image with a little important sticky note. These are items that are unique to this trek, and in fact, for the most part, unique to Morocco. So keep these in mind if you're a trekker from past treks. These are specific things that you're going to want to think about for our Sahara Desert Challenge for Shelter.
Okay, so challenge updates. We have now raised over $283,000, and that puts us nearly at 50% of our overall team fundraising goal, which is fantastic.
Woohoo!
11 trekkers have reached the minimum $5,000 fundraising goal, so congratulations to them. A reminder here about the early bird deadline. All trekkers who hit their $5,000 fundraising goal by June 30th will be entered into a draw to win a $500 gift card to Mountain Equipment Co-op to buy some of the gear that we'll be talking about over the next couple of slides. And the next reminder is to book your flights and book your travel insurance. It's also really important that you send those flight details to Charity Challenge. A few of you have sent them to me, which is great. It puts my mind at ease knowing that you're coming, but it's really most important that Charity Challenge know when you're arriving in country. They're the ones that are tracking to make sure that everybody is planning to get there on time and actually arrives on time, because they'll be tracking the flight status for all of the trekkers. So make sure you send those flight details to Mark at charitychallenge.ca and as well to flights@charitychallenge.com and to Kate at charitychallenge.com. And all of those email addresses are in the email that I would have sent to you about booking your flights in the first place. You also need to enter your travel insurance information into your Charity Challenge members area, and you can find the instructions. They're very simple for doing that in that same email that I talked about booking your flights. Next is a reminder about our fitness training on Facebook with Chantal. Chantal is our Trek's official fitness coach and motivator. She's already posted a few great videos with specific exercises that you can try to increase your mobility and your stability and your flexibility. So I definitely encourage you to check those out and to actually like them, or to share a comment to show Chantal that you're involved and you're participating. And you can, of course, reach out to her publicly or privately as well to discuss any fitness tips suited to where you are in your journey, or any concerns, sore spots, modifications, or injuries that may be on your mind. And then lastly is just a friendly reminder again to review that fundraising Q&A and the tax receipting Q&A, which are both found under the files section of our Facebook group. I'm still getting questions kind of on a daily basis about who to make checks payable to, or how to manage cash donations, whether or not event tickets could be tax receipted. So I promise you that all of those quick and easy answers and much more are waiting for you in those 2 frequently asked questions documents.
Okay, so let's dive in, and we're going to start with the basics. So again, please refer to the equipment list in your Charity Challenge members area, and you'll see on screen there how to get there. You go to charitychallenge.ca, click on the members area button. You'll see something called Challenge Pack, which I know isn't the most intuitive name, but Challenge Pack is where you find pretty much everything you want to learn about the trek, and then click on Equipment List. The list itself has a number of required and optional items. We're not going to be covering each one of these during the webinar, so please make sure to take a look at it carefully yourself. We'll be making a lot of recommendations during this webinar, but in most cases, we encourage you to use your common sense and make choices that are right for you. Of course, you can consult with one another or with other people who've done similar types of travel, but just because something works for a friend doesn't mean it'll be ideal for you. So just keep that in mind. In many cases, there is no right item or perfect strategy. Just use your best intuition and your best thought about what's going to work for you. But the items that are required are indeed required. We really encourage you to get organized early. This will reduce a lot of sort of feelings of stress or anxiety as you're getting closer. Get your gear organized early and give yourself ample time to break in your boots and actually train in any new clothing. This is ideal. I remember sharing with Carly that I bought a pair of trekker pants that I loved, and they felt great in the dressing room, but then when I went out and trained in them, they made this annoying rubbing noise with every step that I took, and I decided to return them because I thought it would be really annoying to my fellow trekkers to be hearing that swishing noise all day long. So testing your gear in advance will help you identify those kinds of things, and will also help you to identify any manufacturing defects or faults before you're in the desert. You don't want zippers that don't zip, for example. You want to know that in advance. We recommend you visit your local outdoor gear supplier and talk to an expert there. But before you walk in, do some research beforehand. Bring a bit of a shopping list. Make sure you know what you're about to inquire so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and that you come to the store or to that conversation with some of your own knowledge as well. And then you can have a really good discussion with the experts at the store.
Okay, let's all avoid overpacking. I promise you that you will need fewer items than you think that you will, especially where your clothes are concerned. And a stuffed bag is really annoying and time consuming to sort through and repack twice a day. We also really need to be respectful of our porters and our guides who will be transporting your larger duffel bag each day. So if you're not comfortable lifting your own bag, it's too heavy for someone else to lift as well. So the bag weight guidelines that we're suggesting are to keep your large duffel bag at no more than about 33 pounds and your backpack at no more than about 11 pounds. Now we'll get into the specifics of each of those bags a little later, but those are the weight guidelines that we're hoping to keep, that everybody keeps to. So, you need to keep in mind that you should be planning to bring your backpack on your flight as your carry-on bag and pack in it a change of clothes, your basic hygiene items, and medicines. You should wear your hiking boots on the plane or pack them in your carry-on backpack to absolutely 100% ensure that they make it to Marrakesh when you do. Your boots are really your most important tool for success on this trek, so you want to keep them as close to you as you possibly can at all times. We also recommend doing a practice pack. You don't really need to worry about doing this until a little closer to, but it's a really good exercise to lay out all your gear in advance and make sure that it fits comfortably into your bags. Please, please, please do not leave this until the night before your flight. And then we've also had quite a few questions here, and I unfortunately can't currently say for sure whether or not our Challenge Hotel will be able to store extra baggage for you while you're out trekking. So please plan to bring everything with you into the desert. Just keep in mind that we are a group at the end of the day of about 120 people, and that would make for quite a pile of baggage at a pretty modestly sized hotel if everyone opted to leave an extra bag behind for an entire week. So we're in talks with the hotel, and we'll confirm this for everyone once we know for certain one way or another.
Okay, another exciting topic everyone wonders about is bags. So we're going to divide this up to bag one of two. And the first bag we're going to talk about is the large soft-sided duffel. Everyone needs a large soft-sided duffel bag and a backpack or a day pack, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Hard-sided suitcases are not suitable, and a duffel an extra duffel won't be provided to you while we're in Morocco, as some of you who went to Machu Picchu might remember was the case. So your duffel bag that you're bringing with you from Canada to Morocco doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can even use a smaller sized hockey bag if you have one and you think it works for you. Carly uses this 90-liter basic duffel bag from MEC that we have here, in the red one with the link. Has served her well. I use a 100-liter Osprey duffel bag. And if you happen to Google Osprey duffel bags, they are quite pricey on the Osprey website, but I've found them on sale at Atmosphere or Sport Check at a very reasonable rate. So if you're interested in looking at this particular bag, check out those retailers. It's not necessary to have a watertight or waterproof duffel bag for this trek, since we're going to encounter minimal moisture. But do keep in mind that your bag will be traveling through various airports, and they will possibly be exposed to a little bit of wet snow here in Canada or on the way. So one of the things you could do is you could buy a can of waterproofing spray or gear spray. That's a really cheap and easy way of making your bags a little bit more safe for the elements. One of the ways that you may want to organize your packing in your duffel bag is to use compression sacks. So they're sometimes called dry bags or stuff bags or compression bags or sacks. And it helps to keep items compact and sorted. That's one of the reasons that we recommend this if this is something that you think will be beneficial to you. It also provides extra insurance that your dirty or wet items like your sweaty laundry won't impact your dry items like your clean socks and your underwear. You can get these bags in different colors and sizes with numbers on them, or you can write on them with a Sharpie what's inside. So that'll help you to figure out what's in them without opening them up. There's also something called packing cubes, and you can get them with or without compression. And compression basically means they kind of zip down to a slightly smaller size. And these are also really useful for organizing your bag. And you can get them at all of the outfitters like MEC, or have a look on Amazon. There's lots of great options there if you think you want to go this route. And now the second bag, bag 2 of 2, again, really, really critical. This is your backpack or your day pack. So we encourage you to visit an outdoor supplier to have a backpack fitted properly to your size and height, and actually get somebody in the store to help you. Don't just sort of put it on your back and try and figure it out yourself. It's actually much better to have a professional fit your day pack for you. You'll be carrying this backpack full of your stuff for hours and hours at a time. So you want to make sure it can be adjusted to you perfectly. There are usually chest and weight straps that provide added support for evenly distributing the weight you are carrying. And these can be a lifesaver. And again, you're looking for a day pack sized bag. In other words, a backpack that's suitable in size just for the day. You don't need to bring an enormous backpack capable of carrying all your camping gear for days at a time, and the kind of backpacks that some of you might remember from backpacking through Europe when you were in your 20s. Those are not necessary. A bag in the 30-liter range is perfect. Your backpack doesn't need to be fancy or super state-of-the-art, but definitely a school bag style backpack is not recommended based on the amount of time you'll be wearing it while trekking. You want to look for a side pocket for your water bottle, so that makes it easily accessible. That's a must. You definitely don't want to take the bag off every time you need to take a drink of water. And something else to keep in mind is to look for a bag with breathability, especially across your back. Many of these suitable trekker type backpacks will have mesh or framing that lifts the bag away from your lower back ever so slightly, and this does make it more comfortable to spend the day and days on end wearing your backpack.
Okay, water bottles, another hot topic on our Facebook group. So we're not necessarily recommending a Camelback or a water bladder or a similar product for this trek, and there's sort of a few reasons why. They can be hard to keep clean under the sort of best of circumstances, and with the sand and the wind and the desert, it may be trickier to keep your sort of the nozzle and the mouthpiece nice and clean for you. Our friends at Charity Challenge have also seen more than one start to leak during a trek, which can be a huge pain. And they can take a long time to fill each morning, depending on the kind that you get and the way that we'll be accessing fresh water on this trek. So this has led in the past to Charity Challenge groups being delayed in the mornings getting going because people are taking forever to fill up these bags. So if you do use one, please make sure that it fills easily and quickly. These products are really more suited to hikes where you head out with all the water that you'll need because you won't have access to water along the way. And on our trek, the camel that will be traveling with us through the day will be carrying 1 liter bottles of water that are available to us at all times. So instead, Charity Challenge is recommending 2 1-liter Nalgene bottles or something similar. They're more affordable, they have more uses outside of this trek, and they're much easier to fill and replace when, if ever, they happen to break. Many of these water bottles have a loop top lid that allows you to attach it to your backpack with a clip or a carabiner like you see on the slide there. All that said, if you love your Camelback for hands-free hiking, by all means you can bring it. We just don't want anybody without one to feel like they have to rush out and buy one. This really is sort of the perfect example of doing what works for you. So I know Shannon loves her Camelback, she'll be bringing it, but I much prefer a water bottle, and so that's what I'll be doing for this trek. And then just another side note on water here, we just want everybody to remember that we are not hiking during the hottest hours of the day, and there will be tons of opportunities to stop and to stay properly hydrated, including times outside of sort of our breakfast and lunch and our evenings at camp. Okay, next up is sleeping bags. I need you all to be looking for at least a 3-season sleeping bag. Only you know how hot or cold you run when you're sleeping, but in my experience, at least, it's always easier to cool down by opening the bag or wearing lighter pajamas than it is to get and stay warm if you're freezing, and it will definitely be cold at night. Our tents do sleep 5 people, so there will be more bodies to build warmth in the tent, but they're also much larger than tents that you may be used to, and there isn't really a true door. It's more of a flap that can sort of blow open in the wind, so that makes temperature regulation a little bit more difficult. So when you're shopping for your bag, you'll notice that pretty quickly that most bags are this mummy shape that you see here, and they are great for keeping your feet warmer just because there's less bag down at your feet for air to circulate. But the tighter the taper, the more it may take getting used to for actually sleeping in the bag. So a good retailer will encourage you to jump in and try it out before you buy it. And there's also absolutely no shame in testing it out on your living room floor or in your backyard before we actually head out into the Sahara. Some handy tips here as well are to bring a few hand warmers to throw into the bottom of your bag if your feet get cold easily, and to bring an extra pair of really warm socks that you save just for bedtime. And then liners, sleeping bag liners. So these are a good option for adding just a little more warmth if you're concerned you'll be cold. It's essentially like adding a flannel sheet under your duvet or on your bed to keep you just a little bit warmer. They are quite small in their packaging, so you can buy one, and if you don't end up needing it, you can return it after the trek. We've had people do that before. But I would suggest that if you're borrowing or renting a sleeping bag, you really should get a liner just for hygienic reasons. And then a huge, big time reminder here is that your sleeping bag must fit inside your large duffel bag. So you'll really need a compression bag large enough for your sleeping bag to fit inside of that to make sure that your sleeping bag is taking up as little space as possible in your duffel bag. You may find that your sleeping bag comes with a compression bag of some kind, but you may find that you want a second one just to get that sleeping bag down to the absolute smallest possible size. And then for your pillow, an inflatable pillow is a really great option. They obviously pack flat and they can inflate really, really quickly each night before bed. Or you can just simply roll up a sweatshirt, or you can stuff some softer clothes into an empty pillowcase that you bring from home. So that's entirely your call. And then sleeping mats. So a foam mattress is going to be provided each night to all trekkers. This mattress is, relatively thick for a sleeping mat and has been described to us as being, quote, quite comfy by someone who weighs in the neighborhood of 160 pounds. If you do decide to bring your own sleeping mat, it too must fit inside your large duffel bag. Next is, we just want to flag for everybody that we're asking you not to bring inflatable loungers as a mattress. We really want to make sure that there's ample room in the tents for everyone and their gear. And we do want to be especially careful not to project images to our donors of trekkers sort of, lounging about at camp after we've made a point of designing a trek that's meant to push us past our comfort levels. So just to be clear, you're going to be sleeping in your sleeping bag, on this foam mat, on the carpet floor of the tent, on the hard, sandy ground.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to talk about boots, another popular topic. You must have proper hiking boots for this trek. If you feel strongly about bringing an alternative style as an additional option, like a second pair, you can certainly do so, but your hiking boots will be the main form of footwear on the trekking days and should be worn during the bulk of your training so that you're ready and you're comfortable wearing them for the long trek days. A boot with ankle support is highly recommended. The kind of support that you personally will need will depend on how strong your ankles are and what cut or style you find most comfortable. Personally, with that, when I went shopping, I had no clue how strong my ankles are. I just wanted to make sure that my ankles were well supported and comfortable in my ankle boots. And in fact, they were in both Machu Picchu trek and our Iceland trek. There will be plenty of loose ground on this trek, and if you twist your ankle, you'll need to sit it out. And I guess even more important to consider is that if you seriously injure your ankle or your foot and you need emergency medical attention, it'll be, let's say, inconvenient to get you out of the desert and back to a city. So taking precaution with a few extra ounces in boot weight, meaning that little extra bit that goes up above your ankle, is more than worth it, in our opinion, and is what Charity Challenge recommends as well. But, don't settle when you're shopping for your boot. If a boot hurts even a little bit while you're trying it on, walk away and keep looking. There are lots of options out there. Many of our trekkers, myself included, have reported easily spending an hour or two in an outfitter store trying on multiple pairs of boots. So you want to budget for that time instead of planning to run in and, power shop like you might for everyday shoes or other items. Don't worry about getting sand into the mesh sides of a boot. The mesh or the Gore-Tex layer will help make the boot more breathable, and it won't be fully porous between the inside and the outside of the boot. In other words, the bulk of the sand won't penetrate the mesh. Now, some people do swear by leather boots. If you find them comfortable and you can make sure that they're properly broken in ahead of time, great, go for that. But hiking boots with mesh or other modern fabrics like Gore-Tex are widely available and well suited and totally appropriate for this trek. Lastly, we definitely recommend that you bring an extra pair of laces for your boots. These can come in handy for a variety of purposes and will definitely save the day if your boot laces should actually snap. And while we are on the topic of keeping sand out of your boots, because I know some of you are concerned about this, just keep in mind that you're not going to be walking in, like ankle or calf deep sand. Think of it more like a walk on a dry beach, but without the ocean to look at. Yes, some sand may get into your boot via the top, but with proper hiking boots and a few extra precautions, you really shouldn't have to stop trekking to shake the sand out of your boots. I personally have done a lot of hiking in Utah, in some desert environments in Utah, and I've never given this 1 ounce of thought. And at the end of the day, when I, finish up, I just dump out, the literally teaspoon of sand that's in the bottom of my boot, and it hasn't been an issue. But if you are concerned to keep the sand out of your boots, first of all, wear ankle high boots, and you're less likely to have this issue. You might want to think about wearing lightweight pants instead of shorts. Some trek pants will have elastic bands at the bottom, which you could hook onto your boot. My favorite hiking pants have kind of like a drawstring at the bottom with a loop, so that's really convenient. Or you can tuck the pants into your hiking socks. No problem there. A few people have mentioned the idea of purchasing gaiters. Yes, these do exist, but keep in mind that this product was designed for lower cut trail running shoes. In other words, people that are out running trails and they're worried about, running into a muddy puddle or being splashed by, wet ground or wet puddles. They're really not designed for ankle height boots that you need for the trek. They also require you to glue Velcro to the back of your boot, and they might be a little bit cumbersome to take on and off. If you really want to try out the concept of a gaiter, we'd recommend just trying budget-friendly alternative, which is you can make your own with a pair of cheap hiking socks. You just cut the toes off, you pull the sock on and up to your calf, and then you put on your boots, and then you pull the socks down over top to cover the top of your boots. So, just try that out and see if that works for you. And it's a simple, easy, and cheap way of making your own gaiters if you'd like to give that a try. Again, not mandatory, but if you want to give it a try. And while we're on the note of hiking socks, another kind of critical element of your footwear, really the best option here is what works best for you. I mean, the reason that there are so many pairs of socks or types of socks on the market is simply because different things work for different people. Mark from Charity Challenge, he wears a sock called the Hiker GX. It's a synthetic wool mix sock from MEC, Mountain Equipment Co-op. Carly wears a running style sock from Old Navy underneath a wool hiking sock. I personally like to wear a medium weight merino wool hiking sock, nothing super expensive. In fact, I bought them at Costco, but you can also buy them at, again, MEC or Sale or Atmosphere. I wear that over top of a thin, lightweight synthetic polyester or silk sock. It's sometimes called a sock liner, but any thin pair will do. And again, these are not at all expensive. The reason I personally have worn a double sock, and some people really swear by this, is that it can help you avoid blisters, but it's not necessarily the case for everyone. It's not necessarily relevant for everyone. This is what your training is for. So figure out what kind of sock or sock combination works best for you in your boots while you're training to keep your feet a comfortable temperature and to avoid blisters. And we also recommend to bring an extra pair of socks that you may want to put on in the evening when it gets cool, when we get back to camp, or even in your sleeping bag. So other shoes that you might want to consider bringing, other footwear that we would recommend, bring a pair of casual, comfortable shoes for wearing around at campsite at night, and a pair of shoes comfortable for our sightseeing when we're doing our city tour in Marrakesh. Could be the same pair of shoes or a different pair. And also bring a pair of, really inexpensive flip-flops or sandals that you don't necessarily care about getting wet in the shower tent, because you're going to want to have footwear for the shower tent.
Okay, so now let's talk about clothing. So hiking wear. We're going to be hiking on 5 days of this 11-day trek, with the first day of hiking only being a short 10 kilometers. And trust me, you do not need separate trekking clothes for each of these hike days. Many people are going to be re-wearing items like their trekking pants and shorts or their warmer layers. We do recommend clean undergarments and socks for each day, and ideally a fresh t-shirt. Now the mornings will be cooler, so until the sun comes up, you may find you need a light fleece or a jacket on top of your t-shirt, but once the sun does come up, you really will only need a t-shirt or a tank top and shorts or lightweight pants. Now, yes, pants are going to be a little bit warmer, but they will also protect your legs from sunburn. And for those of you who are prone to sunburn, you may want to consider wearing lightweight, athletic performance type shirts that have long sleeves as well. Next point here is very, very important. Please, guys, be respectful of local customs and culture when choosing your trek clothing. Now, of course, our guides are used to Western styles of dress, but we do ask that you not bring anything that's overly revealing, and that you avoid wearing only a sports bra or going shirtless, even during the hottest part of the day. We did have a few trekkers do this in Iceland and Peru when the sun was out and it got very hot, and that was absolutely fine in those locations. But just out of respect for our local guides and crew, best not to have, any public nudity in Morocco. So in terms of clothing for city and travel, you will need to bring clothes suitable for sightseeing and traveling for about 5 days. And again, you should be planning to re-wear some of these pieces to keep the number of items you're bringing in check. You can certainly expect daytime temperatures in the high 20s and low 30s, and evening temperatures will be in the single digits. And just again, guys and girls, please plan to dress modestly. Western style clothing of any kind is going to draw a certain amount of attention, but it is good practice when traveling to minimize as much attention you draw to yourself as possible. So looser fitting clothing, longer dresses, shirts that cover your shoulders, and shorts that aren't too short are all good ideas. And these tips will also help prevent sunburn, which you really don't want to be suffering from before we even start our trek. You do not need a fancy outfit for our celebration dinner in Marrakesh on that last night, but you might like to bring something, sort of tuck it aside, keep it clean, something that's maybe just a little bit dressier than your sightseeing or your traveling and hiking clothes. So, I'm recommending, very casual, lightweight jeans, khakis, maybe just a nicer shirt. You'd be absolutely perfectly dressed in something like that. And then clothing miscellaneous, you want to make sure you're packing warm pajamas for those cold nights. Layering options are a good idea here as well. If you get especially cold at night, you might want to think about bringing a light thermal set of pajamas to sleep in. But that said, if you can, try not to wear too many clothes in your sleeping bag, because this can lead to sweating, and then that only serves to cool you down. You'll also need to bring layering clothes to wear in the evenings at camp. We'll get back from those long hiking days, and you're going to want to layer on top of or change out of those sweaty and dusty day hiking clothes that you've been wearing as the temperature does begin to dip. There is no swimming during the official portions of our trek itinerary, but do bring your bathing suit if you'd like to use the hotel pool. And then you'll also see that a waterproof jacket is on your equipment list, but it's probably not necessary. It's really just on that list to avoid it raining out of nowhere and folks complaining that they weren't told to bring a jacket. So I definitely encourage you to use your good judgment there.
So more clothing recommendations and specific to sun protection. For this trek, you must bring a hat, and wide-brimmed is actually best to protect your face, your ears, the back of your neck. But a baseball hat is fine too if you're wearing adequate sunscreen, or if you're wearing, some kind of a scarf or a bandana around your neck to actually cover your neck. Little spoiler alert here: we are going to be providing a Sahara Desert Challenge for Shelter buff. This is that sort of tube-like piece of clothing that was made famous on Survivor. You can wear it in a number of different ways. You can wear it as a hat or a scarf, like a bandana. You can wear it around your wrist if you want kind of like a sweatband. So that'll be helpful for covering your neck, for example. You don't need to be worrying about covering your heads for religious reasons. This is obviously more relevant. So for women often wear headscarves in religious settings. The exception here would be if you visit a mosque on your own time. If you're coming early or you're staying late and you want to visit mosques, in which case having a scarf in your day pack is handy. Sunglasses are a must, and make sure that they provide adequate UV protection. Unfortunately, budget-friendly options, sunglasses you pick up at the drugstore, don't always protect the eyes as much as they should. And we are going to be, in full-on sun all day, and so you really don't want to be having any discomfort or damage to your eyes. So invest in a good pair of sunglasses if you don't already have a pair. And our favorite topic, hygiene and health items. I love the big photo of toilet paper that Carly has put on our slides here. Toilet paper is provided, but only at camp each night. And obviously at this point, we're talking about when we're out trekking. Obviously, hotels will have toilet paper. So toilet paper is provided at camp each night and during the lunch breaks. If you see yourself needing to go during the day, which most of us do and will, we'll be out in the great outdoors. So you should bring your own roll. Just tuck a toilet paper roll in your backpack along with a plastic baggie to transport your used toilet paper back to the camp garbage. And another little spoiler alert here, we will be providing a travel towel for you to use in the shower tent. But certainly you can bring your own washcloth or a small hand towel for backup. That's not a bad idea. Now, showers. The word shower is a little bit of maybe a misnomer. The showers at camp will be very basic, so please plan to leave your fancy products at home. The shower tent is more of a place where you can splash yourself down with some water from a basin to rinse off a little shampoo and or soap that you'll be bringing. And the equipment list on that note suggests bringing antibacterial or biodegradable soap and biodegradable shampoo and conditioner. Certainly you can bring the products of your choice. Charity Challenge is encouraging us to bring eco-friendly options, the kind of stuff that you would bring when you're camping to minimize the environmental impact of the treks, of the Charity Challenge treks. And so many of us trekking through the same spots in a short period of time. What I like is a great option is to bring baby wipes or body wipes. These are sometimes called facial wipes or face wipes, and you can find them in the skincare section of all the drugstores in case you've never shopped for these before. I loved having them, just made me feel a little bit fresher at night. I mean, in fact, some nights you might feel like this is all you really need. No need to go to the shower tent. You can kind of wipe yourself down with these face wipes and feel quite refreshed. Definitely bring hand sanitizer like Purell in your day pack, stick one in your duffel bag, in your pockets. Basically put a little, what are they called? Bottle, yes, little bottle everywhere. It's a lifesaver to have. Since hand washing stations will be scarce during the day, we'll be relying heavily on hand sanitizer to keep bacteria at bay. We definitely want everyone to be using sanitizer before and after they eat. And, you don't want to be sharing things that amongst trekkers if our hands aren't kept clean. So keep that in mind. Purell is your best friend. And lastly, keep other toiletries really just to the basics. You're going to bring toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, face moisturizer and contact lens care, that kind of thing if you have contact lenses. We're all excused from the trappings of full makeup and amazing hair care for the week. So no need to bring all your fancy stuff that you might pack if you were, going on a long weekend to New York City or Las Vegas. Now let's cover food and drink. There'll be plenty of food provided from sun up to sundown, including snacks you can bring with you on the trail. Carly and I have never once felt hungry on a Charity Challenge trek, so not to worry about that. If you do have any allergies or dietary restrictions that are really about your health and safety, you need to communicate these to Mark at Charity Challenge as soon as possible. So the ground, meaning now, not as soon as possible when we get there, so the ground crew can plan and shop accordingly. And again, if you don't have Mark's contact information, it can be found earlier in the webinar, and you can ask Carly for his email address. But please only advise of true allergies or food sensitivities that could really affect your, again, health and safety. We really can't accommodate food preferences, but I wouldn't worry about that at all. There should always be something to eat that you'll find appealing. So don't worry if there's a particular spice that isn't your favorite. Chances are you'll be totally fine. And just keep in mind to let us know or let Charity Challenge know about food sensitivities or allergies that are going to potentially cause problems. A menu, quote unquote, menu won't be provided in advance. But remember, part of this experience is about surrendering some control and enjoying being in the moment, trusting in the process and the professionals that are leading us on this journey. And in fact, for me, I spend every day worrying about what am I going to make for dinner or what am I going to serve if people come over. And I think it's just quite freeing to know that there will be food there and ready for you and will be well nourished along the way. So not to worry. You are welcome, of course, if you want to bring a few energy bars and snacks or, performance gels, if you've used performance gels in the past and you found that they work for you and that suit your taste. But know that these aren't necessary really for this level of physical activity. You could also bring electrolyte tablets for your water bottle. That's entirely optional. If you should experience traveler's diarrhea, these kinds of electrolyte tablets are quite handy. However, in both an instance of, power bars or performance gels, if you want to bring them, or even electrolyte tablets, make sure you take them here at home, test them out, when you're hiking or, just make sure that they react well to you, that you don't have any problems with them. The last thing you want to do is, take something or ingest something that you're actually going to find is actually uncomfortable to you or doesn't give you any benefit. So test all these things in advance before we head out. Lastly, really critical, I've got another little important sticky note here that when we're on the trek, we're just going to be drinking water. Please remember that out of respect for local culture, which does not embrace alcohol or drinking alcohol in public, you all agreed to a dry experience while in the desert. In addition, we also have to remind you that drinking alcohol outside of licensed establishments is actually not legal in Morocco. So we really want to make sure that we are respecting local culture and respecting the alcohol consumption laws. And so please don't bring any alcohol to share at the campsite. You're more than welcome to have a glass of wine or a beer when we're back in Marrakesh at a licensed establishment, but we shouldn't be drinking out in the desert and certainly not in public.
Okay, bug and sun protection. So you will need to bring an insect repellent with DEET, but you really don't need much more than this. You don't need to worry about bringing a net for sleeping underneath. You're welcome to bring an insect killer, a product like Raid, if you'd like. But this is entirely optional. You may never find a need to use it. And keep in mind too, we're about 5 people per tent, right? So not everybody needs their own bottle of Raid. We can probably make do with just a few per group. In terms of sunscreen, you absolutely need to bring sunscreen for your face. You need to bring sunscreen for your lips. You need to bring sunscreen suitable for your body. And all of these should have an SPF 30 at minimum. Those of you who have sensitive skin like I do, you'll certainly agree that everybody should be testing these products out before our trek. You really don't want to find out in the Sahara Desert that you get a horrible reaction to a new to you product. And then we're also recommending that you bring an after sun care product like an aloe vera gel, and definitely your favorite body moisturizer as well. First aid. Okay, everybody is encouraged to bring a small first aid kit with your own essentials. So, foot care products, Band-Aids, moleskin, your favorite pain reliever, a medicated ointment like Polysporin, disinfecting wipes, sports tape, these sorts of products. But keep in mind as well, we will have a doctor traveling with each group, as well as a team of guides prepared to take care of our basic medical needs. So you don't need to worry about bringing a kit large enough to care for all of your fellow trekkers. And then now, these won't necessarily be in your first aid kit, but where possible, please keep all your prescription medications in their original bottles. It's really not a good idea, especially when crossing international borders, to be carrying around a mixed bag of unmarked pills. And then just to be on the extra safe side, I would encourage you to try to bring a copy of each of your prescriptions if you have one as well.
Okay, on a different note, let's just give you a little reminder about power or electricity. Bring an adapter for the plugs in Morocco. And obviously this is for while we're in the hotels, because we won't have any power or electricity while we're out in the desert trekking. So if while we're in the hotels and if you want to charge your camera, Morocco uses 2 plug types. They're called type C and E, and they operate on a 220 volt supply voltage, 220V. So you'll want to check your devices to determine if you need a voltage converter. A voltage converter is like a whole separate kind of device that you would need to bring. So just make sure that they can accommodate 220V. We definitely encourage you to bring external charger or chargers to boost your camera battery while on the trail. There will not be anywhere to plug in, obviously, so you'll want to buy yourself as much time as possible on your camera. Keep in mind that external chargers come in different sizes with different capacities. The one that we show on screen here is a relatively small one. It probably can charge maybe, let's say the equivalent of 1 cell phone. But there are bigger ones that can charge, can do 3 or 4 charges of a phone or a camera or another device. So keep in mind, have a look at that and see what you might want to bring with you. Some of you might be looking into a portable solar charger as an option, and certainly that's fine. But again, do keep in mind that we're supposed to be unplugging and stepping away from our tech, so we don't necessarily want to be, plugging in all sorts of devices. Solar chargers can also be, a little bit inconvenient. You have to wear them on your backpack. They have to get full sun during the day. So they're not super small. So anyway, if you want to buy a solar charger, that's fine. But you certainly don't need to. And these little external chargers that you can buy everywhere now are a really great option. And on that note, let's talk about cameras and drones. And obviously we want you to bring your camera or the device that you're going to use to take pictures. But and this is unique to Morocco. So we have the important sticky notes on this particular slide because we don't want you to be kind of cavalier about this. You do need to use great restraint when taking photographs in the cities. Your guides will actually tell you what you can and can't photograph. In Morocco, taking pictures of certain buildings or even just taking pictures of people on the street can be seen as hugely disrespectful and can actually lead to you being questioned by authorities and or your camera being confiscated by local authorities. Now, I know some of you will be encouraged or will be wanting to maybe take a selfie or, have people in the picture with you or things in the background. And we just want you to make sure that you check with your guides as to what you can and can't take a picture of. And on that note, another no-no, all of Morocco is a drone-free zone. It sounds like a tongue twister, drone-free zone. Try and say that 10 times fast. So please do not bring a drone. If customs should find your drone in your bag, it's very likely to be confiscated, and you may actually face further questioning that may impede your ability to actually be granted access to the country. So you don't want to play around with that by having a drone like hidden in your bag. And if local authorities, if you somehow manage to pass through that and local authorities see you filming, they will definitely confiscate your drone. And again, you may be subject to questioning. So just leave your drone at home. There'll be lots of chances when we're out in the desert to take great photos, and many of you can take video from your camera or your phone. So no need to bring a drone. And last thing specifically, and we're getting into the home stretch, we promise, on equipment is hiking poles. So hiking poles, or using hiking poles or not, is a matter of personal preference on this trek. They're optional. If you decide to use them, or even just one, keep them light and prepare to pack them in your main duffel bag. They can't be packed in your carry-on bag on the plane. And also don't stress about buying extra sand baskets for use in deep sand. If your poles don't already have them, you really won't need them. So what are the benefits of using poles? They can take the pressure off your knees when walking downhill. They reduce stress on your body generally when going uphill, because you're using both your upper and lower body for exertion. They can also prevent your hands from swelling, which can happen when your arms are down by your sides all day for long periods of time. So when you're holding your poles and your hands are upright, it can prevent your hands from swelling. The drawbacks, well, you just might not find them comfortable. So train with and without them to see what works best for you. Again, they are optional and you're welcome to bring them or not. See what works best for you.
Okay, money is my last slide. So you want to make sure that you're bringing a credit card for your travel to and from Morocco and for any emergencies. We have been told that a 5% fee is often charged, so do check with your credit card company if that's something that you're concerned about before we depart. You will need to bring cash for shopping and to tip our guides along the way. The local currency is the Moroccan dirham, which you will need to order in advance from your bank. Now, tipping is, of course, discretionary, but our recommendations and the recommendations from Charity Challenge are about $3.50 Canadian per trekker for the city tour guides on the morning of day one, about $3.50 Canadian per trekker for the shopping guides on the afternoon of day two, and then $50 Canadian per trekker for the desert guides and crew. Now, this money is going to be collected discreetly by one of your leaders and divided among the local guides and crew at the appropriate time. So that's not something that you need to worry about, but do make sure that you have that cash ready when the collection plate comes your way. And I do realize it may seem silly to be tipping, 3 times instead of once, but the city tour and the shopping trip were organized outside of the normal itinerary for this trek. So, extra specialized guides were hired, and so we'll sort of need to tip them along the way as they join us and leave us.
Great. Well, I apologize because I think we're a little longer than we had anticipated, but that's because we're just so excited about all this great information that we're sharing with you. So I hope that we answered your questions or things that you were wondering about. Definitely contact Carly if anything is unclear or if there's anything that we didn't cover. And last but not least, keep up the great work with your fundraising and your training. We're so impressed with what you're seeing. You are superstar trekkers and fundraisers, and you're just really, really crushing it. So thank you so much for everything you're doing to prepare for the trek. I think that, again, we're going to raise a ton of money and everyone's going to be super prepared to have a great experience. So on behalf of Carly, myself, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.